The Life Coaching Toolbox Podcast is brought to you by Joeel and Natalie Rivera of Transformation Academy. In this episode, Natalie talks about how the growth mindset is more important than talents or skills. This episode is one of 14 episodes in a series that walks you through the complete Life Purpose Quest virtual workshop.
The difference between talents and skills is that talents are inborn traits that come naturally, whereas skills are learned abilities. The dynamic is kind of like the whole nature versus nurture idea. An individual's success in any area is influenced both by their natural talents and their learned skills. And so you might be wondering, is talent better than skill? And many people believe that someone who's naturally gifted always has a great advantage over a person who begins with no natural ability and simply learns the skill over time. However, that's not necessarily true. And in fact, in many cases, natural talent can actually hold people back in a major way. Now, I know that might sound counterintuitive. However, when someone does something that comes easily for them, they do not have to put in a lot of effort. They develop a belief that they're simply supposed to be good at things. They also probably get positive attention for this thing that they're good at, and so it makes them like being good at things because it feels good, and therefore they don't like being bad at things. So what happens then when they have to do something that they're not naturally good at? They feel the struggle. They have to put in effort, and they don't get that positive immediate feedback. In fact, they might even get criticized for not being good at it. But they believe that they're supposed to just simply be good at things. And having to put in effort means that they're not good. They aren't worthy. And so what's the result? They end up resisting having to try, learn, and definitely fail. Being the natural talent makes them who they are, or at least they think so. It makes them worthy of praise. So doing anything that shows that they have weaknesses and that they're not perfect must absolutely be avoided. And in many cases, this person will tell themselves that in fact they can't learn how to do things, that they're only capable of doing what comes easily to them. They develop what's called a fixed mindset, meaning they believe that they are the way that they are and they can't change it. I'm good at music and bad at math, and that's just it. There's no sense in trying to get good at math because I'm just not. This way of thinking can develop even for someone who didn't ever have like a really obvious talent. But the problem is that this mindset can really hold people back. So what if that person really wants to do something in their life like run a business, but because they never bothered to get better at math, they don't understand finances. They can't understand costs and expenses, and they can't manage their money. And what if along the path of living their purpose and going for their dreams, a person ends up pushing up against challenges or obstacles, which of course is obviously going to happen? What if it gets hard and they have to put in a lot of effort to continue to move forward towards their goal? If they have a fixed mindset, they're most likely going to quit. They will see their challenges as a sign that it wasn't meant to be. Everything is just supposed to come easily for them, remember? So, because of this unfortunate tendency for many people with natural talents to develop a belief that effort, challenge, and failure is a bad thing, the truth is that often a person who has learned a specific skill versus having it come naturally actually is the one with the major advantage. So why is that? Well, you see, when someone has to put in tremendous effort to learn a new skill, to practice it, to make mistakes, to learn from their mistakes, to seek out guidance and education, to apply it to their life, and to grow through the process, they develop a belief system that they're capable of learning, improving, and growing in any area. They develop what's called a growth mindset. A growth mindset is the true definition of confidence. Because unlike what most people think, confidence is not the belief that you're able to do something or that you're good at something. It's the belief that you can become good at anything with effort. Here's a good example. Michael Jordan is arguably the best basketball player of all time, at least until recent history. However, before he went pro, he had actually been cut from his high school basketball team because he was not the most talented. But he was relentless. He got to practice hours before the other players, and he practiced his shots over and over and over and over again. And as he progressed in his career, he hired a variety of personal trainers, including some that even helped him with his mindset. He outworked all the other players. He visualized all of his games ahead of time. He trained until he was unstoppable. Now, those other guys with more raw talent skated by on their talent alone. Now, they might have practiced and worked hard because that's what they have to do in that industry, but their guard was down. They felt safe because they just had this natural talent. Having to try too hard meant that they weren't great. And so in the end, Michael Jordan blew them all away. Now, in modern times, people are obsessed with this idea of natural talent. And one good example is that when a singer has an astounding voice at a really young age with no training, people go absolutely crazy over it. But the singer who's been training their voice for 20 years, who's just as good, gets almost no attention. So why is that? Because there's a bias towards natural talent in our society. But as you can see, the natural talent is not any better than the acquired talent. The truth is that the 12-year-old talent star is a lot more likely to fail in the music industry than the 12-year-old who didn't make it as a natural talent star, who spends 3 hours a day with a voice coach working hard to develop their voice while also learning about the music industry. Because when competition heats up and the life of a musician starts to wear them down, the talented one is more likely to fold because they never had to develop the work ethic of the other one. So you might be wondering, what do you do if you are one of those people who grew up to believe that they are either good at something or they're not, and that they can't change it or develop a talent that they don't already have? And what if you find that you really fear putting in effort because you're terrified of failing? There's good news. This growth mindset can be learned, just like anything else. In fact, for many people, simply hearing that they are capable of learning how to do anything and that it's okay to not be good at something at first can take a huge weight off their shoulders. People who lean more towards having a fixed mindset may have more resistance to trying something new, but when they do try something new and they practice it and they get better at it, then they end up proving to themselves that the discomfort and the effort is worth the payoff. And so that's what we recommend. If you find yourself resisting doing things new or being bad at something, just do it anyway, except feeling crappy about it because you know now that there is going to be a payoff on the other side. And the reason why this is so important to talk about when on a journey of discovering your life purpose is that many people limit their vision for their life and what is possible for their purpose by believing that whatever it is that they would want to do has to be something that they're already good at. Your vision or dreams or purpose should never be limited by your current strengths. Think about that. Imagine you had been doing this activity when you were 15 years old. If you only allowed yourself to dream of what you would want to do based on what you were good at that moment, wouldn't that have limited you? Thinking only of your strengths keeps you trapped in your comfort zone. But what if what you want is something beyond where you are now? Your strengths might help you get there, but they won't necessarily be enough. They've probably gotten you to where you are, but the truth is you're going to need to learn something new in order to get where you want to go. And so in the next section, we're going to be looking at identifying your talents and skills and how to use them and develop them to move forward towards your purpose and your dreams. And you might want to come back to this activity after completing the whole Purpose Quest process to identify what areas that you might need to develop in order to be in alignment with fulfilling your destiny.
Visit transformationacademy.com/toolbox to download free life coaching worksheets that go with the activities discussed in this podcast, plus other resources for creating a thriving life coaching business.